Hi, good afternoon. I'm T.R. Edwards, principal at River Valley High School, and today we'll be sharing with you some of the activities related to our 9/11 Remembrance Day activities, as well as the upcoming Constitution Day activities. Hope you stick around and see what we've been doing at River Valley High School. Hello, good afternoon, and thank you again for joining us on Voice of the Valley, where we talk about events and activities and feature students of River Valley High School. Before we start today, again, as always, I would like to thank the University of Rio Grande, Dr. Clark and Dr. Sachs. They've been great to work with and welcome us into their community here at the University of Rio Grande and give access and provide assistance with resources to different things here at the University of Rio Grande and collaborate with River Valley High School. So we want to thank them. Thank you to Mr. Jude Myers, which is the superintendent of Guyatt County Local Schools. He has a monthly telecast here. And finally, I'd like to thank Mike in the back that runs the television studio here and all of his work getting us and giving us a platform that we can showcase a few of our students and some of the activities that we do at River Valley High School. So again, thank you for joining us. And if you're watching it streamed version, we thank you for tuning in as well. So today we'd like to talk about two activities. One of them was actually just completed today, and that was in regard to 9/11, September 11th, and remembering those for Patriots Day. And also we'll be talking about our upcoming annual Constitution Day activities where our students get involved with the elementary students and celebrate Constitution Day. So with me, I have three students, River Valley High School students. I'd like to welcome them at this time. First, I have Zoe Milliron on the end, and she'll introduce herself. I also have Mackenzie Limley and Lindsay Abbott. So let's start with you, Zoe, and if you would introduce yourself.
My name is Zoe Milliron. I'm a junior at River Valley High School, and I'm just a regular student.
And what class are you involved in that brings you here today?
Well, I am involved in AP Government, and so I I'm taking a dual credit class for government, so that way I could potentially get college credits.
Okay, great. Mackenzie?
I'm Mackenzie Limley. I'm a sophomore at River Valley. I'm involved in a lot of sports there too, and I am in honors American history with the amazing Miss McClung.
And Lindsay?
My name is Lindsay Abbott, and I'm a junior at River Valley this year. I am involved in student council, beta club, lead team, and I'm a cheerleader. I also take an AP government class.
And if you notice today, all of our guests, they have some version of red, white, and blue on, and that was a school-wide event today. Miss McClung, she led a school-wide activity, and students really did a great job of joining in for our Patriots Day activities and remembering 9/11. So many of the students today were decked out in red, white, and blue, showing their patriotism, and we're going to talk about some of the activities that were going on. So, Mackenzie, I want to start with you, and today, like I said, we were honoring September 11th and remembering that and honoring the victims that died as a part of that, and Ms. McClung worked with her classes, her American history classes, on an assignment. Can you tell us a little bit about what that assignment was?
Well, we go into the class one day, and we have this 9/11 assignment, and she gives us all the information and websites to visit. We looked up the names of the victims that were all tragically lost during 9/11, and we had to find as much information about one of our choosing, and we had to write a paragraph about their hobbies, what job they had at the towers, or if they were involved in it anyway, their family, and just like anything about them in general. And then we had to bring in a pair of shoes in remembrance of them. And then we'd read the what our memoirs of them out loud outside. We'd place the shoes on the ground in front of a flagpole, and then we'd stick an American flag in between it, just as a remembrance of them.
So it sounds like there were lots of components that led up to
Yes.
this event today. And so if I'm understanding you correctly, you started out and Ms. McClung just had you research one individual. So each student in the class had a different person that they researched?
Yes, I mean there was the special ones. Like there was a young infant that was tragically killed, and then there was Cyrus, I believe his name, was a dog that was killed. And those ones were done a couple different times. It's just because they're so unique in that situation. Because most of them were adults and older people, but they were all heroes. I mean, they were chosen. I did see a couple of just regular people that were, chosen at random that just happened to have the same people. But everybody did try and choose something that would remind them how they were going to remember this person.
Okay. And I know, because like I mentioned earlier, this is an annual event, and in years past, even students have reached out to the families, and the families have communicated back, the ones who, and told the story of the individual. So again, the purposes today is just to remember those who lost their life, and take a moment to pay our respects to them. So. What other things now did you also, leading up to this, you researched an individual, but also you did a lot of work looking into the events of 9/11, right?
Yeah, we definitely watched a movie, United 93. That's a heart-wrenching movie. It's an amazing movie, honestly. And we watched raw footage of the events that took place that day, phone call recording, timelines of just all the events that took place on that day. We even read an elementary school book that was made by a teacher, and some of her students had lost their parents in the event, but the book just told them that everything was going to be all right. We just did so much research on it for a couple weeks already. Like, we have invested a lot of time in that class learning about it.
Okay. So a lot of events led up to the event, what happened today. So we have a few pictures, and if Mike can share those. The students went out today, and around the light pole in the center circle in front of the building, like Mackenzie said, students would place shoes, and those were, there were flip-flops to work boots to just regular tennis shoes, representing all of the different individuals that perished in the event, and just take a moment to honor them. As you can see, each individual has an American flag that's placed with it, and the students were able to represent different individuals that were impacted by that day. So those are a few pictures from early on in the day, and that circle is definitely filled up with a lot of different pieces to remember those impacted by. So just real quick, can you guys tell me what year you were born in? Lindsay?
2003.
I was born in 2003.
And I was born in 2003.
So the question that I'm going to ask the whole panel is, none of you were born in 2001 when this occurred. Think for a minute, and I want each of you to respond. Why do you think it's important for us to go back and remember, and why is it important for us to study the events around 9/11?
I'll go ahead and jump in. I think if we forget about it, we're kind of almost letting them down, that we're giving up on the idea that this might happen again, and we always need to remember this, because if we forget this event, it's bound to happen again, because history will repeat itself at some point, and we do not want to forget this at all.
And I think that what a lot of us saw that were living during that time saw a lot of patriotism that came up, and I think it's important for us to keep the patriotism. Anybody else?
Well, I think just remembering it helps to protect the United States further, because we have increased security in a lot of ways, and I believe it just helps to keep the same thing from happening again.
Lindsay?
I agree with both of them. I loved how today the whole school just joined in and wore red, white, and blue and showed our love to our country and just showed them that we care about them, that this is never forgotten. You know,
Now, one of the things you were involved in today was there were certain announcements that were made throughout the day.
Yes.
Tell me about what was going on throughout the day that you helped with.
This morning, around 8:46, I do believe, I came over the intercom and told everybody around the school what had happened in real time, 8:46 on 9/11. Before that, Ms. McClung had told everybody, you know, why it is important to remember 9/11. That is a very serious topic to always remember people. It was almost like war. So, yeah, throughout the day, I just kind of said what happened in real time. At the end of the day, every teacher around the school showed their kids a video about George W. Bush speaking.
Yeah, this is his address to the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So even though it happened later on the night, whenever President Bush addressed the nation, at 2:15 at the end of the day, we all the classes stopped and they together watched that
Yes.
address to the nation. So it was a good culminating activity for all of the events throughout the day. I guess as the day or the week went preparing for this, did you speak to other individuals, maybe family members or teachers that were alive? What is the one thing that all of them, I want to say, remembered about?
I talked to my mom the other night, and I was telling her, you know, I was nervous. I had to speak in front of the whole school over an intercom, and it was a big deal to me. But she said the one thing that she remembered was my brother, my older brother now, him being very little, 1 or 2 years old, and they were sitting at home when it happened, and she just said she felt very scared and worried, and she just wanted to hold him tight and, you know, not let go because she was scared. What if something happens close to us? And, you know, just worried, shocked. She didn't really know what to do.
And I mean, I talked to every teacher that I went to today. I had talked to them, and I asked them, where were you and what were you doing when you found out about the attacks going on? And they all had about the same response, was they were scared. It was a feeling that you can't really even explain, because it's just something that you don't feel that often, because it's like your home, your heart is just being crushed right in front of you, and you can't really do anything about it because you're so far away. I mean, the people that were there in New York, like, they were doing as much as they could to save them. But I mean, when you were here, and they were here, they were at their jobs, they were dropping off their kids to like daycare or school, and then they find out about this. They just wanted to have them home and hug them and hold them, because, you know, you never know.
One of the things it seems like anybody that was alive, they can tell you exactly where they were throughout that day, where they were whenever they first found out that it happened, and then what happened after that. So anything else you guys want to add with the events of the day or anything?
I mean, all the classes that I was in, they were all really respectful. I mean, as soon as they heard the intercom come on, it was silent in the class, because they knew that Lindsay was coming over and telling us what had gone on in real time.
Right,
and
the next event that had happened.
I was really proud of the school for doing that.
Yeah, good. It was a great day, I think, and like I said, a lot of patriotism, and that was a good word, respect. I think that there was a lot of respect throughout the school, and whenever I walked around the building, students were tuned in on what was going on, and they really did want to work and remember what was happening. It was funny that you mentioned earlier about there were two individuals, a young child, very young infant child, and then a dog that was part of that. And one of the classes that I went out and observed whenever they put the shoes around the light pole, they had the dog in their group, and they brought a dog collar. So it's pretty significant thing, and I'm proud of you guys for pulling together and working on that activity today. So in addition to Patriots Day activities, also next week we'll be working with Constitution Day. Constitution Day is the 17th. of September. And on the 19th of September, we'll be having our annual activities with AP Government students where they go out and perform and work with our elementary school students related to Constitution Day. So I'd like for Lindsay and Zoe to tell us a little bit about Constitution Day and what's happening there. So Zoe, if you want to start out, what is Constitution Day and what's going to be happening?
Well, Constitution Day is kind of just the celebration of a document that has created the United States to be what it is today, which is the Constitution. So.
Okay. So whenever you go out and you work with the elementary school students, we're talking about anywhere from preschool all the way up through 5th grade that you're going to be working with those. And how are you guys divided up? Are you assigned to different schools to go to?
Well, so all of the AP government students got to pick a school they want to go to, and within that school we're all split into groups to talk about each article of the document. So we will be teaching and breaking down the Constitution so that way even preschoolers can understand the basic parts of it.
And the Constitution is, we run our entire government based upon the elements of the Constitution. So those are some pretty big topics. What is it like to try to break those down? Lindsay, what's it like to try to break those down to something that maybe a kindergarten student can understand?
Right now, I am just trying to, make it fun for them because you never know, like, you don't want them to sit there and just, like, look bored. You want to make it fun. So I'm trying just to, like, I have, like, a note card, and I'm just trying to, like, write down little spots, and I'm going to go through. I haven't made it that far yet, but I'm just going to go through and try to break it down of how, someone would understand it. And, like, kindergarten, like, just change my words a little bit and make it to where they understand it.
So you guys have to actually really know the Constitution well
Yeah.
to be able to break it down and simplify it so that a young child can understand the concepts then.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're going to all the different schools. Now, what type of things, whenever I hear things about you dressing up as certain people, who are you dressing up as at each of those elementary schools?
Well, at each elementary school, there's going to be a founding father. So we have people dressing up as people from the time period that signed the Constitution, such as Benjamin Franklin and others.
So you say the founding fathers. That seems like it's a big term or an important term. What do you mean by the founding fathers of the Constitution?
I just mean the people who helped write and create the Constitution, the people that were there whenever it was created, and ideas that were put into it.
And the idea of Constitution Day and working with our elementary schools, it was first started with Miss McClung whenever she first started AP Government. So were any of you in elementary school whenever the high school students came out for Constitution Day? And can you elaborate, let me know kind of what you remember about that?
So I went to Adaville, and I just remember sitting in the desk and thinking that there was these really big kids talking to me, and they were all dressed up in costumes, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Do you remember anything?
Yeah, I remember they actually had brought us down to the gym at Adaville, and they were all dressed up in these old costumes, and if we knew anything about it, they would ask us a question. If you got it right, you got a piece of candy. And I mean, they were trying to really interact with us, and that was something I do remember, is that there's just these really tall people I'd never seen in my life who were coming up to me, asking me a question about the Constitution, and then I got a piece of candy.
Do you remember learning anything about the Constitution?
Well, I definitely remember that some of the signers, like John Adams and Benjamin Franklin and all the men back then.
Okay. So you remember some of those founding fathers
Yeah.
then? Okay, great. Why do you think it's important for us to start in the elementary schools with them understanding elements of the Constitution? Why is it important to start there and not just wait until you're in government?
Well, these kids are going to grow up, and one day they're going to need to be involved with the government. So it's good to start early with the basis of things, so that way it's easier to learn and easier to understand it whenever they're older.
Now, in AP Government class, you guys started off with the Constitution, right?
Yeah.
What is one of the very first things you had to do whenever you first started with the Constitution?
Well, we've memorized what each article is about. That's
Okay.
what we've started off with, and then we break it down, and we'll make lists of things that we can remember from each article.
Okay. And you guys are actually reading through the entire Constitution, which the Constitution isn't that long of a document, but there's a lot of intricacies to the Constitution for you to understand. So it's going to be a great project, I think, and looking forward to it. Lindsay, anything else you want to add with?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, Zoe?
I mean, I feel like we've covered it pretty well.
Okay. Well, we're looking forward to that. And again, we are, Constitution Day is September 17th, and we will be visiting Adaville Elementary, Vinton Elementary, and Southwestern Elementary on September 19th and sharing with students the Constitution. So one of our last topics as we end up our broadcast here today is I'd like to talk with Lindsay about the Leader in Me. And the Leader in Me is a program that we began in Guyot County Local Schools 2 years ago and have worked to develop leadership skills and student ownership throughout our district and our buildings throughout the district. So first of all, at River Valley High School, we have different teacher teams and we have different student teams. And those student and teacher teams are connected. Within the academic teacher-based team, linked to that is a group of students from our lead team for student learning. We have our community and data team, which school community is linked to that for our student team. Our teacher team focused on culture and climate has a student team of school environment. And finally, our professional learning teacher team has an activities and enrichment student-based team. So, Lindsay, you've been involved with Lead Team last year, and we had a few activities, and last year was just kind of a learning year, I think.
Yeah.
I think there was maybe we could say a lot of growing pains through that, and we were working on figuring out how we can really make that a part of our school. And the long-term goal is for us to use those teams, those teacher-based teams and student teams, to drive the activities in the building and really, like I said before, to make it the student ownership for the students to drive and have responsibility for the activities and what's going on. So right now, to begin with, what student-based team are you a part of, Lindsay?
I'm gonna do part of the I can't even think of the word. School Pride. I am a cheerleader, which means I think a bunch about School Pride. I am big on, making our school look great, full of decorations, and I just want to make everyone proud when they walk through our school. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was Labor Day. Almost every girl from the cheer team went in and to the high school before our big rivalry game, and we decorated the high school and decked it all out full of black, and I was really pleased with that. I'm just trying to make, like I said, the school better and more school spirit at pep rallies and just football games and, trying to...
So that school environment team that you're a part of, we've turned over some of that ownership. So it's a little different in the operation this year where, even when it comes to pep rallies, that's all student-led. So how do you feel about that, students actually leading and planning and presenting those activities?
I feel like it is a great idea. I have always been the type of person to always want to take charge in something. But, at pep rallies, I just feel, the lead team planning them, I'm like, okay, this should go smoothly, and we always cover it with you or Mr. Stevens, and, I just feel like I'm in charge. I like it.
So, and to say from my observations, you guys have done a great job in leading that, and hopefully we can continue to build upon that. Based upon that structure as well, we have our teacher-based teams, we have our student lead team, and each of those students are divided down into student-based teams. We also are going to have opportunities for students to join some of those student lead teams through different jobs. So here soon, soon, and that's what the next step we're going to be working on is breaking down the jobs within the building that students can apply for within each of those teams. So we may have students that are the DJ at lunch, and they can come up with playlists, and every Friday we have a DJ that plays music during lunch. We'll have a variety of other activities that students can be responsible for, and they can really make the school their own. So I'm looking forward to your leadership and the students' leadership in that for our student activities related to the leader and me. One of the last things that we are going to implement, and we've started to implement, is our student resource room. And the student resource room is just a room that we have put together for students' various needs, whether it be from personal needs, clothing, toiletries, that kind of thing, to we'll have a stockpile of pep supplies and spirit supplies, school supplies, a variety of things. So I guess the one thing I could ask from our viewers is if you have small travel-sized toiletries and we have a few extra or something and you would like to donate, River Valley High School would love to be able to put those in our student resource room so that students can, if they have a need, they can go in and address that need and take responsibility for that. So if you would like to donate to that, or you can contact me at the high school. My name is T.R. Edwards, principal at River Valley High School, and we would appreciate any support with that. So in closing, ladies, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the program today. Some great activities. Glad you were able to share a lot with us about the Patriots Day activities and remembering 9/11. And I do think that's very important, and hopefully our viewers are able to find some of our students and ask them how they contributed to that. So great activity, and I look forward to your leadership next year in AP Government whenever you take part in the Constitution Day. And ladies, I am anxious to see what you come up with for your Constitution Day activities. And what school are you going to?
I'm actually going to Southwestern.
Okay, all right, great. And what school are you going
I'm going to Ottaville, and I'm going to dress up as Susan B. Anthony.
Okay, all right. Do you know who you're dressing up as yet?
I really don't know. I know a person in my group is dressing up as Benjamin Franklin.
Okay, all right. Well, we're excited to see how that goes. And again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us on Voice of the Valley. And until next time, I thank you, and we'll see you then. I'm T.R. Edwards, principal at River Valley High School.